Shalom, shaloms to my mishpachah and to my neighbor. Just want to get on here and talk about the need to live a lifestyle of prayer and fasting. I think about when the young boy that had the spirit that caused him to have epilepsy, his father brought him to Yahusha's Talmidiym and they couldn't cast out that spirit. And once they brought it to Yahusha's attention, Yahusha cast out the spirit and the boy was healed and delivered. But then his Talmidiym asked him, why couldn't we cast it out? And he said, some only come out through prayer and fasting. So what that tells us is we need to always be praying and fasting, because the enemy is not going to give us a time, date, and location of the attack that's coming our way. Or you never know when Yahuwah is going to call you onto the battlefield. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know. A good way to look at it is like people in Tornado Alley, people that live in Tornado Alley, they usually have tornado drills in case there's a tornado. When my family and I lived in California, I know that the schools that I went to, we had earthquake drills in case there was an earthquake. We needed to know what to do. We even had, it was mandatory for each child to be sent to school with an earthquake preparedness kit. So if the school were to collapse around us or something like that, whatever, we had flashlights, we had snacks, like we had a whole, like a big, one of them giant Ziploc bags full of just like earthquake preparedness stuff. And it was mandatory. So, and then if you think about, even soldiers, warriors, even when they're not out fighting on the battlefield, they're still training their bodies, training their mind, going through drills and exercises to stay sharp. Speaking of sharp, you have sharpshooters. They're constantly going to the gun range to keep their skills sharp. So with that being said, why wouldn't we keep our ruach sharp? When we pray and fast on a continuous basis, it sharpens our ruachal eyes, our ruachal hearing, so on and so forth. And we have to make sure that we're constantly eating of Yahuwah's word. Sometimes, let me tell you something. Sometimes when I'm doing Bible study, Ruach HaKodesh doesn't give me any revelation. Sometimes Yahuwah just says, eat my word, just consume it. And then next thing I know, it'll be like a week or two, maybe even a month or two later, that same thing will come and it will regurgitate out of me. And at that time, whether I'm ministering to someone or I'm in the midst of a spiritual battle, at that time, the understanding will come. So even if you're reading his word right now and you're not getting any revelations, understand Yahuwah knows what he's doing. It's just our job to make sure we're doing our part. Just consume his word. Consume his word. If he gives a revelation at that time, cool. If he doesn't, cool. Now, this is not a shameless plug, but it's going to seem like one. I have a podcast called Ri'Plenish. That is my ministry. And because I've been under spiritual warfare, I usually try to back away from making these videos because I don't ever want anything that is unhealthy for you, the watcher, to come out of me. So I usually go through this and then I come back out, and sometimes the next video will be whatever lesson it was that I learned in that spiritual warfare, and sometimes it'll be something completely different that Yahuwah wants me to say. But today while I was at work, he told me to listen to a few episodes of the podcast that I made, and at least two of the episodes said some things that, one, convicted me, and I was like, okay. And then two, it actually gave me direction and strength in the midst of this spiritual warfare. And I was like, so maybe try, if you're someone that hasn't been called to do any of these things, it's still a benefit to you if you write down the different revelations that Yahuwah gives to you, or, whether it be while you're doing Bible study or after you've come out of a test and a trial. Write down those revelations, because sometimes you can go back to those things and in a different season, and it'll speak to you in that season. Like, sometimes I don't realize what it is that Ruach HaKodesh is saying in and through me, and then I go back and I'm like, man, I needed to hear that, because that's what I said today. I was like, I needed to hear that, and if you're somebody that doesn't like to write, make a private video log. You can upload videos on YouTube and make them private or unlisted to where nobody will see them except for you and whomever you give the link to. Or you could do voice recordings. These are actually things that back when I was counseling people, these are actually things that I would have them to do. And it was something private for them that they can go back and they could listen to, because sometimes we forget. And that's what the enemy is banking on, us forgetting. So yeah, this is just what I want to come in here and talk to you guys about. I do have a video. I don't know when I'm going to be putting it out. I've been kind of working on it right now, but which is where the spiritual warfare is coming from. So I just want to put that out there. But anyway, I just want to come out here and say this because today I was like, wow, I needed that. And this is not the first time I've gone back and listened to the episodes of the podcast. Every once in a while I'll be led to go back, and every single time it's like, oh, wow, okay, I needed that. So even if nobody else listens to the podcast, I have something that I can go back and be like, okay, this is what, Yahuwah was speaking to me in this moment. And a lot of times when I go back to it, it's something that I need to hear in that moment. And I am going to leave the link to the podcast in the description of this video because I've mentioned it so many times. If you go there, I don't get paid for any of this stuff, you guys. So please understand, it's completely free. I believe that I received all this stuff for free. It's my duty to give it to you for free. So it's totally up to you if you decide to venture there or not. Basically what it does is I started it in November of 2021. And basically it just takes you through how Yahuwah circumcised my heart to get me on this ancient narrow path, and then the different life lessons that he took me through after that. And I think that's season 1 and 2, but towards the end of season 2, it has me talking about practical ways you can apply like the different lessons and stuff that he gives us, so on and so forth. And then I'm actually in season 3. So I recently recorded the 3rd episode of season 3, which is another reason why I was underneath spiritual warfare. So just want to come on here and say that. And now I'm finna go eat some food. I love you guys. Until next time, shalom.